And the first thing I booked in a while because I changed it up and I'm like, let me take control. Let me be in charge of my life. You have to be in charge of your life. People are not going to give you permission to be the best you. You have to take the space to be the best you. What up, YouTube? Welcome to the Marv Over Matter Perspective. Some of the subscribers, they asked me, are you going to broaden your horizon? Are you going to talk about some more things? Because we like the way you break things down. We like the way you explain things. We would love to, hear you talk about, other topics, other than just dating, attractiveness, this type of thing. And honestly, this is something that I've always wanted to do anyways. I actually started a channel in 2020 where I talked about, just my perspective pretty much on different things, on happiness, on confidence, on, insecurity, on, ambition, just any topic, it's really like a philosophical channel, right? So this was something I wanted to do anyways. And with the encouragement from my subscribers, I figured this could work. You know what I mean? This is something I want to try out. This is something that I believe could work. I believe could be beneficial, could be helpful. So here it is. And the first topic, today's topic, is stop asking for permission, right? Stop asking for permission. So what do I mean by that? A lot of times in life, we're just waiting for permission to express ourselves, be ourselves, say what's on our mind, do the things we want to do, because we feel like we're going to get in trouble. Like, a lot of people feel like this. I've had conversations with other people where they're like, yeah, I don't know what it is. I just feel like I'm going to get in trouble, right? And the thing is, when you feel like this and when you behave like this, you're at the mercy of everyone else. You're at the mercy of everyone else's thoughts, feelings, and opinions, because you need them to grant you permission in order to do what it is that you need to do. What you know is going to be the best situation, the best solution, the best action for you. You're waiting for other people to allow that. Now, it happens at different stages, at different levels, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes it's on a small scale where, some people don't speak up because they don't feel like they have permission to speak, right? Until somebody grants them permission to speak, they don't want to speak up and say. They might be in a conversation and they want to talk about a certain thing, but they feel like, it's inappropriate. I don't want to talk about it now. But then if somebody else was to talk about it, they would add to it. They have so much to add to it, but they couldn't add that until they got granted permission almost, right? That's a common thing. People don't want to expose themselves because maybe they feel like they'll be rejected. Maybe they feel like, people are gonna turn against them, be angry, be sad, be upset, whatever it is that they're fearing. It's not worth you not expressing yourself, saying what you know is the best thing. You know what the best thing for the moment is. You know what the best thing to say is. You know what the best thing to do is. We already, internally, we know what's right. And if you follow that internal thought process, it will lead you to a better life. It will lead you to more success. I'll use myself as an example. This is why I'm talking about this today. I had a list of things I wanted to talk about, but this one stood out because today I reap the benefits of not asking for permission, of just taking control and doing what I know is the right thing to do. You know what I mean? I actually benefited from it today. So this is why it's fresh in my mind. I feel real passionate about it. So this is my example. So I'm an actor, right? And typically a lot of actors, ones that don't really book, when they walk into a room or they're, on a Zoom call for a callback or an audition, whatever it is, the whole time the perspective is kind of like we're waiting for permission, right? We're waiting for instruction. We're waiting to be told what to do so we can do it perfectly to the way that, we think this person, this casting director wants to see it. That's how a lot of actors approach things. That's how a lot of people approach things in life. We want to be perfect, right? We want to do what the directions say. But when you do what the directions say, you end up doing what everybody else did. When you do exactly what, let's say, for example, in this acting example, when you do what the casting director says, right? You're going to 9 times out of 10 do what every other person did. So where does that leave you? Are you going to be better than everybody else? Are you going to be worse than everybody else? Are you going to be the same, right? you're probably going to be the same in the situation. So you're not going to stand out. Your audition's not going to be memorable. You know what I'm saying? Whatever it is that you're doing, whatever it is that you're doing, it doesn't have to be acting. You're not going to stand out. You're not going to be memorable. And at the end of the day, you're not really going to matter in that situation. Now, what I did that I don't typically do, typically that's what I do. When I go into an audition room and I'm doing auditions, whatever, this is what I do, right? I'll just kind of wait to be told what to do and try to do it as perfectly as I can. But this time I was like, you know what? I haven't been booking lately and I've been doing that. So what is the point of continuing to do that? If I'm gonna not book, right? If you're not gonna, you gotta realize if something's not working, right, and it's already not really what you want to do, you're already not being yourself while you're doing it. You have a better chance, right? Or at least there's no worse possibility, right? If you be yourself while you're doing it. So I decided I'm gonna just be myself while I do this audition. Now I'm gonna ask questions. I'm gonna point out when things don't make sense. I'm gonna be fully, you know what I'm saying, critical of a situation. That's just how I am. I'm a critical person. I'm a critical thinker and I'm critical. So that's how I approach situations. So I was like, that's me. This is what I'm gonna be in this situation. So I'm doing the audition. They come on, they ask me to do the slate, whatever, I do the slate. Now they're giving me instructions for what to do in the actual scene. Now this is a scene I had already done. I already did it my own certain way when I had the audition because it was like a self-tape, so I got to do it my own way. This time they're here, they're telling me what to do. Now they changed the way that they want me to do it, but the way they wanted me to do it didn't make sense to me, right? So first I asked a question, then I'm like, okay, well, you know, I want real clarity. So let me ask you, do you want me to do it like this, or this? Or is it like this, and this? Like, what are we doing here? She tells me, I'm like, okay, well, that's a little confusing to me. That doesn't really make sense to me because this scene is not a full scene, right? It's supposed to be broken up. So why would, like, if we do it fully through, it's not really going to coherently make sense. So it's going to be hard to, like, for me to perform that. And they're like, oh, don't worry about it. Like, we're not going to do the middle scene. We'll just do this and then we'll cut and then we'll do another scene, right? So I'm like, okay, cool, perfect. So we do it, but she doesn't do that. She continues to go to the next scene. Now, in that moment, I did freeze for a second. I was like, I normally would have just gone along, right? And then I would have waited for her to say, hey, do you have any other questions? Like, I would have waited for the permission to be able to express how I felt about what happened. But in that moment, I was like, you know what? I don't care. I'm like, hey, excuse me. I'm like, we just said that we were going to do it this way. And I'm kind of confused because now you just added that scene in, right? Then somebody else jumped in who was on the casting directing team. And they were like, hey man, you know, you just got to do this, you know, it's a commercial. A lot of times they don't make sense, but we just need you to kind of do it. I'm like, yeah, I get it, but it doesn't make sense to me. So I can't really perform it the way that you're asking me to because it doesn't logically make sense or whatever. And then the original girl was like, hey, you know what? Okay, my bad. We'll do the first part. We will completely cut and then we'll just do the last part, right? So then I do the first part, we cut, like she says. Then we do the second part. Then she goes, okay, can you do it again? I do it again. She goes, okay, one more time. Can you try it like this? I do it again. I try it like this. She's like, okay, let's go back to the first part because I feel like now you're settled in, right? Then she goes, we go back, we do the first part. She's like, okay, that was great. I can tell she's kind of like softening up to me as well. Like as I'm talking, as I'm explaining, as I'm saying, hey, as I'm disagreeing, as I'm, not waiting for permission to express what I think, and I'm just expressing what I think, I can see that it's having an effect on her. When she first, engaged, I could tell she was just like in autopilot because she just was used to doing that with everybody else. She was just used to being in autopilot. But the second I challenged her and I was myself, I didn't wait for her permission because she's on autopilot. So has these parameters already. This is what she's ready to do. She's not really going to give space to give permission, right? So what probably happened to a lot of other people is she did that. It didn't make sense because what they were doing didn't make sense. And they just felt uncomfortable as they did it. So their performance suffered for that. Me, I wasn't allowing that to happen during this time. So as I woke her up, I could see she was like, and she became interactive again. She actually was interacting with me. She actually had like compassion. She had empathy. All those things rushed back in, and I can see that. I can see the tone of her voice change. I can hear it, right? Because she's now like, okay, this is a person in front of me, right? When you are yourself, you force people to react to you. So you wake them up. The habits that they have, the way that they might treat people, the way that they might do things, you know what I'm saying? They might just be on autopilot. So they might not be paying attention enough to give you permission to do what you need to do. They might not be looking at the situation like, okay, what's best for both of us? Let me give this person space to be and do what they need to do. Personally, I try to do that when I'm talking to people, when I'm engaging with people, because coming from somebody who was looking for permission, I also, when I see somebody like that, I try to give them as much permission as possible. But not everybody's aware of that. So because not everybody's aware of that, you have to take permission, right? You have to take the space, you have to take the room to do it, and then you wake people up like that. That's how you get them to interact with you and really engage with you. If you notice people who don't care about what people think, and they really don't care, and they really just do them and they're themselves, people don't respond to those type of people the way they respond to docile people, to people who are asking for permission, to people that just follow the rules, people that are just nice. You know what I'm saying? The way somebody responds to them versus the way that people respond to that loud person that's themselves. I don't mean loud actually like volume wise. I mean loud as in expressive of who they are. When you are that person, you force people to have to engage with you for real because you're unpredictable. They can't just anticipate. It's not just like, you know, go with the flow. Oh, this is just the normal. This is, you know, hi, how you doing? You good? Okay, cool, blah, blah, blah. No, you're asking them real questions. You're challenging what they're actually doing. You're asking, why are you doing that? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't understand what's going on. You're engaging, so you're forcing them to engage. When you're trying to wait for permission, you're not really engaging. You're just going through the motions, so they're just going through the motions. So you have a situation, you have an encounter where two people are just going through the motions. So a lot of your encounters don't mean anything. They're not meaningful because nobody's actually engaging. But when you take, like I said, take that permission, you force them to engage. So like I said, I could tell that's what she was doing. She woke up and she was now engaging. Now she's like, okay, he doesn't understand. Okay, actually this doesn't make, like I could see, she's like, oh, okay, I can see how this doesn't make sense. You know what? This isn't even necessary. Let's just do the two important parts. You know what I'm saying? Because that's really all we need to see. I'm sure other people had to go through the whole audition and, you know, there was parts that, like I said, didn't make sense. She's like, okay, well, because this doesn't make sense to you, and you're letting me know that it doesn't make sense to you, let's just do the parts I really need to see. Let's get down to the essentials. We really need this part, we really need this part. I did it, you know what I'm saying? She's like, oh, that was so great. And then she saw that because she woke up, because she was now engaged, she saw that I loosened up. She saw that, you know, my performance was getting better. So she's like, okay, actually, let's go do the first part again. If she was on autopilot, she would have made me do it. I'm like, okay, cool, perfect, next. If nothing stood out, nothing would have stood out. But because I stood out, she was already forced to be aware. So now she's able to pick up on those little things. Like, okay, he's more comfortable now. Oh, his performance is getting more real. Let's see what he does now that he's in this zone. Let's see what he does. You know what I'm saying? Like, she's alive. The engagement is real. So I finished my audition. They go, okay, can you go back in the Zoom waiting room? We'll let you know if we need you. They're like, oh, you know, a minute later, somebody comes in and says, okay, you're good to go. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm like, well, I feel like if they wanted me, you know, they would have asked me to come back right in that moment, maybe paired me up with somebody. I don't know. So I'm like, you know, whatever. I didn't get it, but at least I was me. And at least I took my permission to be me and do the audition that I wanted to do. I did the best quality audition because I took permission to do the best quality audition. I couldn't have done that without taking permission. If I waited for them to give me the space so I could do my best audition, I would have never done my best audition under those circumstances. So I had to take the permission so that I could put myself in the best position, right? So fast forward today, so that was 2 days ago. Today, my agent hit me up and said, hey, for your information, FYI, you are the first choice for that commercial, right? They still got to decide. They still got to bring it to the client to see if they messing with me, to see if I booked it. but they're telling me I'm the first choice, right? They wanted it to be known like, hey, he's the first choice. That's not by coincidence. That's not a coincidence that I'm the first choice. I was memorable because I took the space in the room, right? I left an impression on her because I forced her to engage with me. I was respectful, you know what I'm saying? I wasn't disrespectful, I wasn't crazy, it wasn't nothing bad, right? But I also took the space that I needed, created the environment for myself to do the best audition I could do. So not only was she engaging with me, I made her feel something, you know what I'm saying? Empathy, like, okay, you know, I made her actually be there in the audition. Then I gave myself the space to do the best audition. So of course, right? I'm going to be considered. I'm going to be remembered. When they think about all the auditions back, and you know, there's a bunch of people who just went through it, did it wrong because they didn't understand, were nervous because they didn't understand. All these reasons, like they just went through, hey, how you doing? Yeah, no, I'm so happy. Thank you. I appreciate it. All this type of stuff, right? Just going with the flow, trying to be nice as they possibly can because they think if they're so nice and they don't step on any toes and they do everything, you know, super polite and super perfect, that they're gonna get it. No, that's not how it goes. You know what I'm saying? That's not how you get anything in life. Being so nice and so docile is not how you get anything in life. You have to take command of your moment. You have to take control of your moment, right? Don't ask for permission. So now here I am about to hopefully book, you know what I'm saying? The first thing I booked in a while because I changed it up and I'm like, let me take control. Let me be in charge of my life. You have to be in charge of your life. People are not going to give you permission to be the best you. You have to take the space to be the best you. So that's the video for today, guys. I have a huge list of topics, so I'm gonna keep the videos coming. But yeah, I hope you enjoy it. It's mind over matter, Marv over matter. Let's get it.